Plenty of bills related to gun rights showed up during the first week of session for the Texas Legislature. Democrat Rodney Ellis from here in Houston wants to finally close the gun show loophole that allows people to buy a gun through a private dealer at a gun show. Also, Representative Dan Huberty of Houston wants school board members and the superintendent to be able to carry guns at meetings. Others want guns in nursing homes and hospitals and allow concealed carry in polling places. So what's the likelihood of any of these bills getting off the ground? That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you. You can weigh in on our Fox 26 Facebook page or join the conversation on Twitter. Use the hashtag Fox26forlife. In our newsroom now is our roundup panel, and it's led by our Fox 26 senior legal analyst, Chris Tritico. All right, let's start with Rodney Ellis's bill about closing this loophole related to background checks at gun shows. Chris, what do you think?
You know, I really don't understand the opposition to Rodney's bill here. You have to pass a background check everywhere else you buy a gun except a gun show. But we're going to fight this. I don't know that it has a chance of success in this session. For two reasons. First, we're looking in this session to expand gun rights, and so I don't think this bill will pass for that reason. Second, Rodney Ellis is a Democrat, and the Democrats aren't going to get anything passed if they don't get significant Republican support and sponsorship on their bills. So I don't think it's going to pass. Now, with respect to the other areas, I've been to hundreds and hundreds of school board meetings, and every school district has security there. I don't understand the reason for this, but I think those bills will pass this session. So we'll see what happens. Mustafa Tamiz is our political analyst, Jackie Bally, public policy analyst. I don't remember where I started with last, so we'll start with you, Jackie. You know, Rodney Ellis says, you know, why not do a background check at a gun show when you have to do it everywhere else? What's wrong with that?
I don't have a problem with that. As you know, I am very much in favor of the expansion of gun rights. And if that's all the bill says, because that's what we're reading, I have no problem with that, because that doesn't infringe on us buying a gun, and it still protects the proper people or the good people who want to get guns. So, you know, it stops criminals or the bad guys from getting guns. And also don't have a problem with the other bill that's being proposed on City Council. When I sat on City Council, all of us were packing. All of us had a gun during our meetings. Why can't the school board officials have guns? So I don't have a problem with either bills that are being proposed.
Have you ever heard, Mustafa, of major problems at a nursing home?
Not that I recall, but I have heard from the National Institute of Background Checks, which does a background check when you go to a gun dealer to purchase a check, found 1.8 million people, criminals and others, that shouldn't buy a gun and prevented them from doing that. The problem is when you go to a gun dealer, that check is provided, but if you go to a gun show, you can buy a gun without that background check, and over 40% of our guns are sold by people that are not dealers. So this is an important issue. If we want to add to safety, we want to make sure that we want to reduce domestic violence, we want to prevent criminals from having guns, we should do that. And the last part I'll say about this, there's something that never get really talked about and should. 40% of the guns that are used in criminal activity in Mexico come from Texas. So if we want to make our borders secure, one of the best things to do is to reduce selling guns to criminals, which is what we do at gun shows.
We're buying their drugs, so we might as well supply the guns to make it safer for them to deliver the drugs. Isn't that right, Jackie?
That is so wrong. But I will say this, I don't think that we're saying that there are problems in nursing homes and some of the other places that were listed in that bill. What we are saying is just you have a right. You have a right to carry a gun. And so he's saying these places you don't, so far the law does not allow you to do that, so he's proposing a law that allows them to do that.
In a session where the governor has said, I will sign an open carry bill if it comes to me, and we're looking at expanding rights, do you really see in this legislative session them passing a bill that the Second Amendment proponents would view as a limitation on gun rights?
Again, I would have to see the entire bill, how he writes it and what's being proposed. But I don't think that's going to be a problem if that's exactly what it says. Now, if he comes back with a bill that says that and other things, then there will be a problem, because we are on the course of expanding our gun rights, which I am definitely in favor of.
And Rodney Ellis has been proposing this for a very long. This is probably the third session that I'm aware of he's proposed this bill. I just don't see any hope for it.
Well, I don't either, but it makes a lot of sense, right? It makes sense to be able to do a background check before you hand a lethal weapon over to somebody so that you don't hand it over to criminals. And in terms of like allowing guns in different venues, I mean, I've been to school board meetings. Some of those meetings are very heated. Now, do we want to actually create an environment where we put guns in bars and restaurants and in places where there's alcohol, in places where there's controversy, because two things will happen. One, some people will use it to intimidate, because if you do open carry, right, I can see people walking up to a school board meeting with a holster around them saying, I'd like the policy changed. Is this the kind of environment and community we want to build? I don't think so.
Final thought.
That's what we are in Texas. We have 811,000 license holders in guns, and that's who we are. We believe in our guns, and the fact that we have that amount, our crime rate in crimes that he's talking about are lower than in other states where it's very hard to get guns.
All right, we're going to leave it right there, Sally, and we'll be back in a little bit with a final story.